Hi, I'm Tony Northrup, and for Chapter 3 of Stunning Digital Photography, I'm in the studio with a mannequin because Chelsea wiggles a little too much for this particular demonstration. But I'd like to talk about lighting and the direction of lighting, in particular how it falls on a face. And this is an exercise that I want you to do yourself, and in fact, you'll see this written in the book, pretty much word for word, what I'm going to try. And of course, you don't have to use a mannequin, you can use a person. You also don't have to use people. If you're into still life or animals, you can use anything pretty much, even a piece of fruit will work fine. The first thing I'd like to do is to talk about catch lights. So I'm not even going to use a flash, I'm just going to use a flashlight. And I'm going to hold it right about at the camera level and show you what the effect is of the catch light of the eyes. And as you can see, the catch light, when it's close to camera level, is right in the middle of the eye. And that's about what you're going to get when you use on-camera flash. And it's not especially appealing, largely because it's so common. We just see that all the time. If you raise it up just a little bit, the catch light gets much more attractive. Now I'm going to raise it up even higher and higher, and I want you to watch for the point when the catch lights completely disappear from the eyes. There you go. So as I go back down, you'll see the catch lights appear at some point, and then the eyebrows or the brow of the forehead blocks that light at some point. And this is really important because proper catch lights are critical to a portrait and to wildlife photography. So you need to monitor where the light source is coming from. You can't have it too high, but if you have it too low, it gets unattractive again. So just watch one more time as I pull up, and then bam, the lights disappear from her eyes. Because you'll see the light on her face, something to keep a track of. And I'm going to move the flash back down and move it from side to side. Here the catch light is right in the middle of her eye, but as I move to the side, you can see it gets more attractive still, especially if I go up and to the side, the catch light gets more and more attractive. But I'll move it back down, and then as I move to the side, you can see the catch light stays in her eye, and then at some point, she loses the catch light from her far eye. Now her near eye still has a catch light because it's coming directly from the flashlight here, but the bridge of her nose is going to block the catch light from her far eye, and there it disappears again. So you have this kind of sweet spot of catch lights, which are right about in this range. You can't go too high or too far to the side. And I think the most attractive catch light is usually right about this angle, not directly above the camera, but off to the side a little bit, not too high. Now let's talk about the shadow underneath the nose. This is really important in portraiture, and it's something a lot of people overlook, but I'll start with the flash right about camera level, and as you can see, there's really no shadow under the nose when you're using a direct flash. But as I raise it up, you'll see that a shadow starts to form under her nose here. And the higher the flash gets, the longer the shadow is. And you can see here, it breaks the line of her lip. So what we have here is called loop lighting. It's just an old Hollywood term that refers to this kind of lighting where the shadow under the nose forms a nice loop. And I actually think that's fairly attractive for nose lighting. Now I want to move the flash over to the side a little bit, and what we can see is the shadow itself moves to the side as well. So earlier we were talking about how having the light source over here made attractive catch lights, but it doesn't always necessarily make an attractive shadow on the face. And I'm dealing with fairly extreme lighting here. You'll probably have more fill in what you do, but that shadow is always going to be apparent as long as you have the lights not perfectly balanced. As we go to extremes, you can see the nose casts the entire far side of her face into shadow, and that might be the effect that you're looking for, but you should be really deliberate about it. Now I'd like to talk about lighting the chin and the shadow underneath the chin. So I'll start out with the light beneath her chin. And well, she's a mannequin, so you can't necessarily see, but all of us humans, the skin underneath our chin kind of bunches up a little bit. And you don't notice it when you're talking to a person, but if it's on video or in a still photo, you start to notice it. So what you want to do is you want to cast a shadow underneath the chin. And when I'm underneath there like this, anybody, no matter how thin they are, will look like they have a double chin. So what you want for the chin is to have the light source up above the chin. So as soon as I go above her nose, we start to see a shadow forming underneath the chin here. And this makes the jawline more pronounced. And the higher I go, you can see the shadow goes farther and farther down, not necessarily in an attractive way. For the chin, you just want to be able to cast enough shadow on the neck here that we don't see all the kind of folds of skin that we have under there. Now I'd like to talk about the shadows underneath the cheekbones, and especially for women, the cheekbones are an important feature, but it's important for men too. If you have a direct light, your face will end up looking very flat. If you have a light that's higher up, you'll get a shadow underneath your cheekbones. This is the reason that women wear blush. They're kind of creating an artificial shadow and accentuating those cheekbones. So let's take a look at it on the mannequin here. When I'm right about camera level, you can see the mannequin's face looks really pretty flat. As I raise it up, she doesn't have especially pronounced cheekbones being made of plastic, but as I raise it up, you can start to see some shadow form underneath her cheekbones here, accentuating them, but they'll completely disappear as I go down. So the cheekbones are another good reason to get that light source a little bit higher and get that light off the camera if you're relying on on-camera flash. Last, I'd like to look at the hair. Now, my plasticky model here has pretty dark hair and she's against a dark background. So her hair will basically completely disappear. Even if I illuminate her face a little bit, if I control the light so it doesn't spill onto her hair, you won't see a lot of definition between the edge of her hair here and the background. Now, I'll point it off to the side here so no light really spills over here. And you can see it pretty much disappears. If I add direct light to the hair, you can see it not only does it appear, but it looks nice and shiny too. I'm using a really hard light source with this flashlight. If I were using a big light source, even a softbox, but especially like an overcast day, what would happen is the hair would just seem very flat. For hair to appear shiny, you need a small, hard light source. Look how shiny it is when I get nice and close to it. Another thing you can do with hair is to backlight it. And this creates a different effect. As you can see, it starts to glow just a little bit. For this reason, when you are in a studio and you have a proper hair light, what you tend to do is you put the hair light a little bit high and behind the subject. The hair light is typically a bare bulb and it's pointed right at the subject. Now you would never put a bare bulb in front of somebody to light their face. That'd be really ugly. You'd have specular highlights, like bright highlights in the face. Their face would look all oily and shiny. That's why you put a diffuser on the front light. But for hair, this is what you want. You want a bare bulb, super bright, just to make everything gleam really nice. And the darker your model's hair, the more important that hair light is. Now you don't need a studio to do this. If you're outside, you can position the sun behind them. Or you could use an off-camera flash and just add a little kick of light. You can also get a big reflector and hold it really, really close to the subject with like a silver side there and cast just enough light to offset the hair a little bit. But the point is, I want you to think about the light on your model's hair. So in summary, I'd like you to just, as you're looking at people, but especially taking pictures, just think about the direction of the light and think about the minutia of the little shadows underneath the nose and the cheekbones and the chin and what you might be able to do to reproduce these things. You know, if you're sitting across the table at a restaurant, one of the things I like to think about is the lighting in the restaurant. I notice some restaurants give you really nice light and other restaurants give you really ugly light. So I hope I've opened your eyes a little bit to the light around you and that you'll take some time and practice and really learn to control that light, because it will make all the difference in all of your pictures, but especially your portraits.